In the last series, we established that creativity matters. It makes you happier, more successful, and it's your navigation system for healing and transformation. And we introduced this idea: there's a specific state of consciousness that amplifies creative capacity by up to 700%, and that state is flow. So now let's look at the research that proves this connection is real. Let's start with one of the most striking studies. Researchers in Australia presented 40 people with an exceptionally tricky brain teaser, the kind that requires deep creative insight to solve. These are called remote association problems. You're given 3 words and asked to find a fourth that connects them all. For example, pine, crab, sauce, and the answer is apple. Pineapple, crab apple, applesauce. Under normal conditions, not a single person solved the puzzle, 0 out of 40. But this is where it gets fascinating. When the researchers artificially induced flow using transcranial magnetic stimulation, essentially putting the participants' brains into a flow state, 23 out of the 40 people solved the puzzle. And they didn't just solve it, they solved it in a record time. Think about that. 0 out of 40 becomes 23 out of 40 just by changing the brain state. That's not a small improvement, that's a fundamental shift in cognitive capacity. Now, artificially inducing flow with magnetic stimulation isn't exactly practical for everyday life, but here's what matters. We can induce flow manually through activity. And when we do so, the creative enhancement is just as dramatic. The Flow Research Collective conducted a comprehensive study across far-ranging fields: entrepreneurs, scientists, writers, artists. They asked a simple question: how much more creative do you feel in flow compared to normal waking consciousness? The answer: 7 times more creative. 7 times, that's 700%. But perhaps the most important finding comes from the research we mentioned before from Harvard. They discovered there that people aren't just more creative during flow states. They report being significantly more creative the day after experiencing flow. This is crucial because it means flow doesn't just give you a temporary boost while you're in that state, it actually enhances your baseline creative capacity over time. Each flow experience you have makes you more creative the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. Flow doesn't just heighten creativity in the moment, it heightens it over the long run. Now you might be thinking, this sounds incredible, but how does it actually work? What's happening in the brain during flow that produces this dramatic creative enhancement? That's exactly what we're going to explore in the next video, because understanding the neuroscience doesn't just satisfy intellectual curiosity, it actually helps you access flow more reliably. When you know what's happening in your brain, you can start to recognize the signs, you can create the conditions, you can train the capacity.